Self-therapy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Garibaldi Red podcast, a Nottingham Forest podcast. The reason I start laughing is because Mark just decided to kill the intro at the start there, as the Reds travel down to Wembley for a huge day out as they face Manchester City in an FA Cup semi-final. It will be a big one as thousands of Forest fans will travel down on trains, cars, buses, whatever it may be, to get down to Wembley on Sunday for a 4:30 kickoff in front of the TV cameras and pretty much the rest of the world as the club look to get to an FA Cup final. How big that would be in its modern day history. They'll face Manchester City, not an easy opponent at all, and with the prospect of getting to a final and facing Crystal Palace or Aston Villa. Joined to discuss the game and just how big of a moment it is really as we all prepare for a huge weekend for Forest, joined by Mark Turner. Mark, nice to have you back on the podcast, mate. For our visual viewers, you've got a lovely retro Forest shirt on. You're looking good, you're feeling good. How are you, mate? And how much are you looking forward to this weekend?
Well, yeah, hello, mate. Ever the professional, of course. Talking over the intro. Sorry about that. But anyone who is listening now has a little bit of insight as to where Max is spending his summer holidays. I am doing great, mate. I am absolutely buzzing. It's a fantastic time to be a Nottingham Forest fan. I think I mentioned to you off mic that I've been asked to do something with another visual medium to come on and talk about Forest, because everybody wants to talk about Forest right now, whether it's our push for the Champions League or whether it's the FA Cup semi-final. It is good to be a Red.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, mate. I think that just supporting Forest at the minute, and things like this FA Cup semi-final just adds to how huge it's been recently and just how good this season has been. I also think as well, I was going to kind of get onto it, but I thought, why not mention it now? I thought what Marinas did yesterday in terms of donating shirts across Nottingham was brilliant. It's a great move. It's great for kids, but also spreading Forest and making sure that people from Nottingham and from our home city support the club that we all love and adore. And ahead of such a big game on Sunday, I thought it was just a brilliant initiative. So fair play to Marinas, fair play to the club. And there was quite a nice quote from him on the Forest website. So go and check that out.
Yeah, I appreciate the shirt. Thank you very much, Mr. Marinas.
Yeah, did he donate that to you, Mark?
I was one of the little orphans. My hands out, say, "Can I please have a Nottingham Forest shirt, sir?" No, it was a wonderful gesture by him and the club. And I was listening to I want to say the Colin Frey podcast. Is it
Yes.
Shut Up, No More Football?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, Zach Abbott and Ryan Yates. Excellent podcast by and large. But the episode where they spoke with Zach and Ryan about going to the school, handing out the shirts was really touching. And particularly Yates pointing out that, when they used to go to schools back in the day, yes, of course, there were Forest fans there. There were Forest shirts visible, the kids showing up in their Forest gear. But of course, you had all the standard Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal.
The top six.
Gubbins, yeah. And Yates was commenting on just how many Forest shirts and kids that are supporting Forest they're now seeing. And again, it's great to be a Red right now. And it's great to see that among us, Max, or among the fans who've been following the team for some time, but also the nippers as well. Those kids who are coming up, be proud of their city and their team. So good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I remember the days of being in school and, like kids just, kind of where I was, it got a lot of Stoke and Derby fans and even Derby were doing better than Forest back then, 10 years ago or whatever it was now. And Stoke fans as well, because they were in the Premier League, and then you had all your typical United and Liverpool, and now Forest get to experience the glory days, and you're right, good for the young generation, and a lovely thing for Marinas to do, and obviously Yatesy and Abbott speaking from the heart and the soul of the football club. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, so whatever you're up to on your Friday afternoon, if you're trying to work and you've got the excitement of Sunday and you've got us on in the background, then do let us know. Keep your comments coming and let us know what you think the score will be and your thoughts and feelings ahead of such a big one. Mark, let's just discuss first of all kind of how big a moment this is actually for the football club. We talk about Forest doing so well at the minute. We talk about it being a great season, but in terms of the actual history, to get to an FA Cup semi-final, it's still such an achievement for a club that ultimately was fighting for its life in the Premier League last season. It was its first season in the Premier League, the one before, and then before that, kind of all the Championship, mid-table. Mediocrity. I can never say that word.
Mediocrity.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Well,
Ever the professional. So yeah, and I mean, just how big a moment it is for the football club.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to overstate it, and I think what's particularly impressive, Max, is having reached an FA Cup semi-final in a season where we've been jockeying for a top 3 spot for the longest stretch of the season, and now, of course, it's top 5 will do, and anything outside of that. And I'd love to have a conversation with you about that, because I have opinions when it comes to the Champions League and securing one of those places. But to have seen such a dramatic sea change in form in the league, putting us at those heady heights at the top of the table, you would think the team would be all in on that. Now, I get that momentum begets momentum. So if we're doing well in one competition, oftentimes that bleeds over into another. The team's doing well, period, end of story. But still, to maintain that focus, to keep everybody fit, to keep everyone pulling in the same direction, to be able to rise to the levels they have in the Premier League and secure an FA Cup semi-final spot is remarkable. And I heard a talking head the other day suggesting that Nuno should be, was absolutely nailed on for manager of the season. I think in any other season it would be inarguable. I think with Liverpool winning the league this year, with the first time manager too, and not picking up really any major signings in the summer, it's probably going to be competition for that gong. But still, I think what Forest have achieved both in the league and the cup, it really is. Well, I hope fans appreciate it. I mean, I know they do. We've all been suffering for a very long time, but seriously, take a moment to sit in this and just marvel at the team you get to support. It's pretty epic.
Yeah, absolutely. Darren says, can't wait to paint London red and white. It's going to be on par with the playoff final. I had a dream this semi-final ended with a Forest win on the dreaded penalties. You Reds. I'm not sure about my heart rate there, Darren. I think I'd struggle. I mean, in terms of Forest's opponents on Sunday, Mark, we'd have all wanted Villa or Palace, I think, rather than Manchester City. But Forest have beaten them once. Forest got a decent draw. I remember, yes, things changed, but I can remember it was the first season when we were in the Premier League. So there's almost no reason to fear them. I was thinking about this morning, kind of as I wake up and I'm preparing for the weekend and thinking about Wembley. It's not far around the corner now, and I'm thinking it will be a difficult game, but there's no reason why Forest from the off can't go out there and ultimately do what we've done all season. And maybe it suits us, kind of soaking up that attack from them and then launching counter-attacks where we can, and doing almost what we've done all season. Easier said than done, though.
This will undoubtedly be the stupidest thing I say on this podcast today, or perhaps all season, in that I don't fear City. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't discount them. Of course, they're a fantastic club. They're a fantastic outfit. They've struggled this season. We know that. But I genuinely don't fear them. I think we know how to get the job done. I think one of the things that's going to be interesting to see on Sunday, Max, is how the players deal with just the occasion. Because I'm less concerned about the game itself. But here we're dealing with a team who have been to New Wembley, I think my numbers are right, I think 28 times. And I think Pep has taken their 19 of those. That's astonishing. I mean, in that same time frame, obviously, Forest have only been there the once. And so that's quite a delta. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Forest players deal with the occasion. But we have some experienced players out there now. We have players I think aren't going to be too fazed by what comes at them on Sunday. And I think if they follow the Nuno master plan, I have high hopes for getting a victory.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk team news, because I think that's the one that everyone wants to get into and discuss. Yeah. Forest without Nico Williams and Ryan Yates because of the whole yellow card suspension.
Yeah.
they're ultimately banned, so they can't play. They will be big misses, Mark. There will be players that will have to step up. Olarena is still getting assessed as we speak, so they're not ruling him out for the game. That's what Nuno said in his press conference. That's the kind of situation surrounding him. But I do worry in terms of Forest, particularly. I think we'll struggle more in the fullback area than we will in midfield, and I do fear City's wingers coming at Forest. However, there's no reason why next man up mentality, that Harry Toffolo had a brilliant game the other night, can do it again. So it's one of those, Mark. I don't know what. I mean, it's which area Forest will miss the most. But in terms of just personnel, Yates and Williams will be big characters in that dressing room. They'll be around on Sunday, but they're going to be missed in terms of being in that starting 11.
Yeah, no, they definitely will, Max. And I think, you touched on it with Yates in particular being a big character. I mean, you and I both are fully signed up members of the Ryan Yates fan club, but we both recognise he's a very good and important player. He's not a worldie, but what he brings to the club is far beyond just what happens in his boots. When he shows up in the locker room and he's inspiring the lads and he's really driving home what this means to the club. So we're going to be fortunate that will still be there. He'll still be there, of course, and he'll be talking to the guys. And they won't need much in the way of firing up on the field. It would be churlish for me to suggest that he's not irreplaceable. We have other players in the squad who can do a similar job, and I think the combination of midfielders we have available to us are going to mean that we're going to be in decent shape there. Like, could Yates add something? Of course. But I think we're going to be in decent shape. But I'm with you. Like, the Nico Williams bit is such a loss, particularly if Ola can't make it as well. I'm hoping he can. Well, I am hoping he comes back because he's been one of my favourite players this year, Aina. But I know also his injury is a calf injury, right? So it's one of those things. And he goes hell for leather when he plays. And so it's one of those things where, you can't tug the reins on him. You can't be like, don't go up and down, sort of sit back, hold your position. He's going to do what he's going to do. And it's such a suspect injury. It's one of those things that if you aggravate it further, we could lose him for the remainder of the season. And I certainly don't want to do that. So the prospects of not having him and Nico Williams available to us on Sunday is worrying. I think City's best player in this little bit of a resurgence we've seen from them has been Mamouche. And obviously he can go out either side and down the middle as well. He is a troublemaker. I love Harry Toffolo. He was remarkable against Spurs. But on paper, or even on grass at Wembley, you look at Harry Toffolo versus Mamouche, it does make you a little twitchy. So but we'll see. I mean, again, as I said earlier, I'm sure Nuno has a master plan. These are his problems to solve. He's done it in the past. So keep the faith.
Yeah. I mean, do you think City's style almost does suit Forest, Mark? Difficult because it's not your home turf as such at Wembley, but then I also do think, you mentioned how many times City, 28 or whatever it is, that have been to Wembley.
Yeah.
I actually was quite fortunate to do some work, and I covered the Manchester City-Watford FA Cup final, which City won 6-0. Mm-hmm. And the atmosphere inside that place was it was soulless. The Watford fans made a bit of noise, but in terms of the City fans, there was nothing there.
Right.
Being from living around Manchester and going to the Etihad many times, with all due respect to them, it's a very quiet place. It's a very quiet fan base. So you almost think that Forest can actually make Wembley their home on Sunday. They can,
I don't know if it was on that same podcast.
Come to our advantage.
Yeah, on that same podcast that Colin Frey heads up, as you probably heard, they talked with Steve Cook and with Jack Colback as well, and love the Ginger Prince. I'm absolutely in lockstep with him. That goal against West Brom was absolutely meant. One of the greatest goals we ever saw at the City ground. But I can't remember which one of them.
I missed that. I was so good. I missed that.
Absolute banger. Oh, Lordy. But I can't remember which one of them said it, but one of them basically said the playoff final was like a home game because of that wall. I think one used the term wall of red. The other one used the term sea of red. But, we greatly outnumbered Huddersfield fans in terms of sheer numbers, but also volume as well, like just songs and support and all of that. And I think we're going to have a similar dynamic this Sunday as well. So I think the Forest players it'll feel as close to the City ground as possible in terms of the experience, and that's going to be important. Again, I do feel like I don't know that the entire game is going to rest on this, Max, but I do feel like it's an important component how all the players handle the occasion. And I think with the support of the fans, that could be a bit of a difference maker.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Dave talks about it a lot on the podcast. It's about almost being the underdog, and it suits Forest, and he'd rather Forest go into a game being an underdog. Does that help Forest going in on Sunday with ultimately a lot of people writing us off already? In terms of a player point of view,
I really don't think it has much of a bearing on the game because I think it's been the mindset all season long. I mean, we just did not expect Forest to be in these heady heights in the Premier League. But yet, when you hear, it feels like all I'm doing right now is citing other podcasts, but they're good ones. If you listen to the one that Gary Lineker and Micah Richards and Alan Shearer are on, again, the name of which escapes me, Ola Einar is their guest this week. Lineker's got a one-on-one with him. And Einar talked, Lineker asks him, he says, is it kind of a surprise where you're at? And Einar says, well, I'm paraphrasing here, but he kind of says yes and no. Like, of course, it's a big change from the previous season, but as a team, we sort of we know how good we are. We know the quality of the players we have. We feel like we go about our business in the right way. We're taking one game at a time. So this wasn't beyond us, again, paraphrasing. And so when I look at Sunday's game, yes, of course, we're the underdog. But I don't think this is something that, I don't think Nuno's going to be beating his chest and going, oh, no one out there expects us to win out. Like, I think that's the mindset, period, end of story. And I think the lads will have embraced that. Oh my gosh, I'm starting to sound more like Dave now. You mentioned Dave's name, and all of a sudden I start representing his intonations. Sorry, Dave, not mocking you for sure, and starting to draw from his verbiage. But I don't think Nuno's going to be doing that because I think that's just been the mindset all season long. So I don't know how much of a bearing that'll have on Sunday. But again, it's going to be about how Nuno sets the boys up, I think, tactically. To your earlier point, Max, yes, I think it's a good one for us because they're going to expect possession and we're going to be comfortable relinquishing it. So I think it's going to make for a really interesting game.
Yeah, you mentioned there Forest setting up in a bit of a Nuno masterclass. He'll obviously attempt one in terms of tactically. How do Forest set up? Is it, again, go about the same plan as it's been all season? Yes, there won't be key personnel in there, Williams and Yates, just to mention. Yeah. In terms of that midfield, do you expect a very similar team, possibly, that played away in London on Monday night?
I don't know. I'm not even going to take up, podcast airtime speculating over that. And I'll tell you for why, because you just never know with Nuno. You never know what he's going to come out with. I mean, we have that standard formation that we've become very familiar with, but he pulls rabbits out of the hat, left, right, and centre. And in most instances, Max, what's been most impressive this year is that they've worked for him. There have been very few missteps tactically with Nuno this year and with the team this year. So I'm not even going to speculate on that. I do not know how he's going to set up. I think you and I both have opinions on probably what is most likely to happen. But honestly, I think there's any number of ways you can skin this cat. So keep coming back to a Nuno we trust, and I very much do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just looking at some stats now. City have lost 4 of their past 5 FA Cup meetings with Forest.
Is that right?
That most recent one was that 3-0 home loss in the third round back in 2008 and 9. That's quite a good stat. And obviously Forest's first FA Cup semi-final appearance since 1991 under Clough, where Forest beat West Ham 4-0 at Villa Park before eventually losing to Spurs in the final. That was when they used to play the semi-final at a neutral ground.
I know, and I wish we were still doing that. So what was that stat again? Forest have won 4 of the last 5 meetings. Is that what you said?
Well, Manchester City have lost 4 of their past 5 meetings with Forest in the FA Cup.
Okay. So, wouldn't the same be true? Are we not? Are we not saying the same thing differently?
Yeah, we know we are. Yeah, we are. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, we are. That's me just being. Yeah, that's me reading off a script.
You're very literal, Max. You're very literal.
Of course. I just saw some comment actually earlier that said I was a nerd, so maybe I'm just a nerd, mate.
It's writing all those college papers. You have to be very, very literal.
Yeah. It's all the
orientated.
It's all the final major project stuff. Dissertation looming due in next Friday, a week today. Right, in terms of prediction, Mark, and how you think the game will go. God, I've got to ask you, mate, and you've got to give me one. You can't not. Come on, it's the FA Cup semi-final. We're going to Wembley.
Yeah, well, I don't know, was it Dave? Who was it who put that comment up earlier, or you put the comment up for earlier? I apologise, can't remember the name, but they suggested the game might go to penalty kicks. I could certainly, Darren, excuse me, I could certainly see that happening. But I'm going to go with a 2-1 Forest. I just feel, I think it's going to be hard to keep a clean sheet.
This is in normal time, right? It's not going to go to extra time, aren't they?
I don't know on that, mate. I don't know. I mean, it very well could. But you don't know what City. I'm actually more interested to see what City shows up than what Forest show up, because I think, again, we have a baseline of consistency this year below which we've dipped a couple of times at most. So I'm confident the boys are going to show up ready for it on Sunday. It's going to be fascinating to see which City teams show up. Particularly when they start hearing the Forest fans there, and again, sea of red, wall of red. But I can absolutely, but I think it's going to be hard to keep a clean sheet. But I can absolutely see Forest getting it done without penalties. But let's go all the way to penalties, mate. Let's have the drama. Give people their money's worth on the day.
Yeah. And while I'm more worried about getting back from London on the last train on East Midlands Railway.
Yeah.
Honestly, the amount of times I've been on East Midlands Railway trains and you ended up crammed in like sardines.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that train back if it's 30,000 Forest fans cramming on a train trying to get back to Nottingham, East Midlands Parkway, Derby, around the area. So it'll be interesting, as will the game, mate. I think Forest will win it in normal time. I think City will score. I think Forest will win 3-1.
What? Look at you.
Win 3-1. See? Optimism. Positive optimism.
Now that Chris Wood's back, I mean, they're important goals back in the team, so.
He found his feet instantly against Tottenham on Monday night. So lots to look forward to, and we shall see. Mark, you won't be there, mate. Feel for you. You'll be watching it on the TV, I'm sure, with the many people across the world hoping that we can get over the line. I will be there. I'll be doing some interviews and some bits and pieces on Wembley Way, or in the Forest designated pubs wherever we end up. So if you're around and you watch the podcast, come and say hello. It'll be good to get you on, and we'll do a little video from there for the podcast. I will also try and give you some instant reaction, probably just of me walking out the game, of whatever happens, and then we will discuss it all on Monday morning. Yeah, I've got my dates right.
There'll be tears in that post-match reaction video, regardless of the outcome.
Well, if you go back to the playoff final video on Matchday with Max, Mark, there was tears. Both, I was in tears, and Dave Asprey, doing a classic Dave, held it together. No tears from Dave. He was emotional, but he just proper pundit. Proper presenter.
Max, this reminds me of the team I used to run for 17 years. No tears. We love these lads.
Do you know what, Mark? You just literally nailed it there and then. I'm sure that will be Dave's reaction.
A little clap.
Yeah. Bless him. So we'll have lots of content over the weekend for you. We'll release it slowly, so you've got lots of stuff to listen to if you're on your way down to Wembley, and you might be listening to this podcast now if you've saved it until Sunday and you're travelling down. So enjoy it. Fingers crossed it'll be a great occasion. Can't wait to see lots of Forest fans down there, and hopefully we can get over the line. Mark, appreciate your time as always, buddy.
Que sera, sera.
What is it with you breaking into song on this podcast?
Come on, fella. We're going to Wembley. Come on, Forest.
Yes, come on, you Reds. Thanks as always for your comments live on YouTube and Facebook. Give us a like, share and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us across Spotify. Leave us a review if you did enjoy. And hopefully the next time we speak to you, Forest will be in an FA Cup semi-final. Come on, you Reds.